something she decides with Neil. Neil has some guidelines. I just don't know those except the others. So
right. Okay. So we're live already, it looks like, right?
Yes, except on the GSU TV, it actually doesn't reflect that until on the hour.
Okay,
so
good.
It doesn't
good.
go from the watch this or get notified to watching until on the hour. So we have
okay, so we can chit chat. This isn't on there. Okay, because that would be weird if this part was on
it
there.
may be on Facebook Live because that is, it used to be like the minute you did it, it went on Facebook Live, but I'm not sure now how that works. So, but yeah, we're good with this. So
excellent. Yep, no problem. Just getting myself all organized here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm all ready. I usually sign in like 20 minutes before, just make sure I got my lighting and my blind just perfect because it's earlier now. I could probably put it up a little higher because it's not too bright, but it's just easier if I keep it kind of like that. Because like later on in the day, it gets really sunny.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. It looks like it would. My window's so far back, it doesn't affect.
Yeah, I'm like pretty close to my window. Yeah. So this is sort of my little my little nook here.
Right.
All right. So we're all set, ready to go. Good.
And then once I know that it is running and it's good, I'll be out. But you've got Brandon. So
yeah, no problem. Not a problem. Where are you located?
I'm in Virginia, actually, about an hour east of Richmond.
Nice.
So
very nice. I just like to know where everybody is.
Yeah. I used to live in Utah. Moved here, but I had lived here previously, moved back. I was in Utah about 10 years. So
oh, nice. It's nice to try different places. I've always been on the West Coast. So I'm in Canada. I'm in Victoria, BC, which is not too far from Vancouver and about two hours north of Seattle. So if you're familiar with where Seattle is.
Yeah, I've never made it Seattle. It's one of the cities on my list, but I had never lived anywhere but Tennessee or Virginia. So Utah was quite different for me.
Oh yeah.
It's been nice to be back too. So.
I can't wait till we can travel so I can drive down the Oregon coast because that's beautiful too. Just south of Seattle, like that whole coast is really beautiful.
I did do a trip to California and did see the ocean and all that, but I will say that I looked at it sort of going, it just sort of looks like Virginia Beach to me. So. Yeah. But it was nice. The cliffs are very different because in Virginia, the sea level is so much lower that you don't really get those big cliffs and then the ocean.
Right.
At least in Virginia area. I know Maine does, but so that was a little different. But it was nice, and Utah was very different.
Yeah.
But nice. I'm glad to be back. I have a little bit of family here, and
oh yeah, you get used to.
And I'm here for a project, changing careers and finishing up some schoolwork, and after that ends up in June, I don't know where I'll go. So.
All right. Let's see how big our class is this morning.
Okay, and you are up.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Hi, David. Come on in. Selma, nice to see you. It's 8 in the morning for me where I live. I don't know about the rest of you. Maybe it's a 2 hours ahead or 3 hours. Where are you, David?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio. It's 11 o'clock.
Okay, not too bad. Still morning for, I guess, everybody, unless we have some coming in maybe from other countries. It could be a little bit different in timing. Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you. Hi, Martha.
Hi.
Hi, Henrietta.
Hi.
Yeah, it's Friday. It is Friday today. Yes, Friday. Yay. I'm looking forward to that.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ravina.
Hi there.
Can you please start recording?
Yes, I will start that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So welcome, everybody. Come on in. We are going to get started in just a minute or so. We have Brandon with us this morning, and he is our support person. So he'll help us out in the chat. If you have any issues or you have any questions, this is a good time to ask our support person. Hi, Martha. You look all cozy. Is it cold where you are? You got your mute on. You look like it might be cooler where you are. Oh, there you go.
I'm in the lower level of our house.
Okay, so a little cooler.
Anyway, so I got a long sleeve shirt, a sweatshirt, and a warm bathrobe.
I can see you're quite warm. That's nice. Yeah, well, it's still early where I am, so although my husband and I already went out and did our morning walk, so we got a little bit of movement, so it sort of warms me up as well. All right, so welcome everyone. We are live streaming this morning as well, which is kind of exciting. That means we've got extra people that might be looking in and listening into our class today. So that's great. I'm going to just start. Let's just see here. Yeah, I'm going to start by sharing my screen now, just so we can see what we're all about today. We are doing basic nutrition. Actually, I mean, that's the name of it, but I have to say that this class is quite special because I created this class for people and learners like yourself. Like, we're all considered older adults, 55 and above or 50 and above. And so this class is very much made specifically for our age group. And I say our because I fit in there as well. I'm actually 55. I don't believe it sometimes. I hope that I can sort of, reduce my age as I eat healthier and learn all these. The more I teach to all you learners, the more I think, oh yes, what did I say about eating the rainbow? Things like that. So it's quite exciting. So nutrition basics, what you need to understand. We are going to learn some very specific things for us. So that's what's so awesome, because a lot of the material and things we hear in commercials and on TV and that, it's not always for the older adult. It might be for the families or for children or for, males. Sometimes that's what studies are based on. So let's see here. So for those who just missed the very beginning, my name is Ravina. If you haven't met me, I think I've met most of you. I live here in Victoria, BC in Canada, so the very west coast of Canada, pretty close to Vancouver. I've been involved with health and wellness my whole career. I did my nursing degree years and years ago. Gosh, I can't believe it. I graduated in 1989. Oh, from nursing. That's a long time ago, in 89. And soon after being in nursing, I realized like the heartache when people were sick and injured and ended up in the hospital. And I thought, what can we do to stop that from happening? Like, what can we do to prevent? So I really got interested and focused on preventative health. And that led me to study nutrition and functional nutrition, which means using foods to heal us, to help us. Or at least starting there, and then working, with your doctor or your alternative medicine doctor or functional nurse to create a plan to get you back into better health. So that's just a little bit about me. You probably heard that a few times. We are here to learn from each other. So if you can, and it doesn't matter what your house looks like, or if you're still in, your, morning clothes or whatever, if you want to put your camera on, I'd love to see your face. I enjoy being able to connect with people by being able to see them. And as you know, the class is being recorded. You've probably heard that. If you look up on the screen, there's an email that you can send to at the end of this class if you would like a copy and say you want to re-listen to something. Or you could always just take the class again too and try to take in more information. We are live streaming, which I mentioned. Not all classes are live streamed, but they just sort of pick and choose. So there's variety. So today we have some extra learners watching in from the outside. And lastly, just to let you know, I will talk about possibly some services or products, and we don't get paid or get kickbacks from anybody. It's just something that I enjoy, that I want to share with you, a service or some type of goods that might help you with your nutrition. I can't remember exactly specifically if I do talk about anything like that, but we'll see. So today's agenda. Our objectives for today are, how does nutrition change as we age? So there you go. That's the very specific information you're going to learn about our age group. What are the 4 factors that affect our nutrition in our older age? And then also some nutrition basics, some very simple basics. And then I'm going to talk about 3 nutrients that I really want you to focus on. If you haven't focused on them already, that I want you to think about making sure you've got those in good supply for good nutrition. All right, let's get started. I want to ask a question. You can use the icons down below under reactions. There's a hand up that you can put up if you want to say something. That's the best way to not like interrupt, yet I can see that you want to ask a question or make a comment. There's also a thumbs up and a clap that you can say you agree. And it's fun to use the reactions because everybody gets to see them up on the boxes. So that's kind of fun. So you can put your hand up or give a whatever. Does anybody here find that it can be rather confusing at times trying to understand what is proper nutrition with all that information out there? Yeah. Even like the most sound, like people like myself who have studied nutrition, it is confusing. One minute we're hearing about this diet, then we're hearing about this way of life, then we're hearing about this lifestyle. Vegan is great, vegan's not good. Oh, eating meat is great, not eating meat is, eating meat's terrible. Like we hear so much conflicting information. So I'm here to curate that information for you to a certain extent. And when I say curate, that means I have done a lot of studying of all these things, and I've kind of put together a presentation to give you some information to hold on to ponder as well, because again, we are all individuals. And so what's best for me might not be as the best for Elsa, which might not be the best for David. Like we are all different beings, unique individuals. So keep that in mind as we go through the session. All right, so let's just start. Okay, what does change with nutrition? Let's just be honest. As we age, one of the things that's common is as older adults, we sometimes tend to live alone. That's just the way it is. Now, for me, for a lot of my adult years through my 30s, until I was 48, I will say, I think it was specifically 48 when I met my now husband, I was single and I lived on my own. So I know full well what it was like even in my 30s, but when you live alone, you might just not want to take the time to prepare and eat healthy, balanced meals every single day. Maybe if you get that bit of energy and you decide you want to, cook or prep something really delicious. But then after eating that for 3 days, sometimes we just get tired. So as older adults, when we live alone, that could be something that changes with nutrition is we don't have the family. We don't, have to do the steamed carrots and all that because we've got like the 10-year-old or the 5-year-old, and we're trying to make sure that teaching them the basics of good eating. So I think we kind of know that even when our kids maybe were away at grandma's or something, and it's just you and husband or you and your partner or just you on your own. What did you have for dinner? Like, what did you make for dinner? Did we cut corners a little bit? And then this is one we've just talked about, and I asked it as a question. Often nutrition can be confusing. We have more and more and more information at our fingertips. And why is that? Well, look at us. We are connected like this. You can go into podcasts now. You can Google just about anything if you use Google as your search engine. We can Google anything. You can type anything into Google and find out information. And I'm sure you'll find information for something or against it. So we just have so much information that it is just become confusing. Like the picture shows, this guy looks confused. I think he's confused between whether he's supposed to use the sweet red bell pepper or a pepper in his cooking, but I thought that picture sort of said it all. Okay, the other one is the challenges as we are getting older. Sometimes it could be challenges with illnesses, medical conditions, disabilities. And also right now, as of, March of 2020, who's going to forget that? We've been sort of a little isolated. A lot of us are more isolated. So when we are more isolated or have an illness, it prevents us from getting to food, getting to the variety of food that we maybe did prior. I'll admit, I probably grocery shop less now than I did over a year ago, because before I could just go every day, pop into the grocery store. I walk everywhere where I live, and I could hit 2 or 3 grocery stores and just sort of see what's going on, what's fresh. Well, now it's more of a set plan. We get the husband and I, we get our we do the whole rigmarole and we go to the grocery store and we kind of are in and out. So we're not even spending a lot of time in the grocery store anymore. Some of you might be even ordering your groceries online now just to kind of avoid the public areas. So this slide prior to COVID was something, you know, we can tend to isolate ourselves a little bit more as we age. Not necessarily always, but it can. The next one for nutrition, why it's important to us is in our aging years is because, well, first of all, I want to just make that a fact. It's just as important in our older years as it is when we were younger. We sort of tend to think, no, we were very concerned about, you know, babies and their nutrition, and then young children and their nutrition, and our teenagers, you know, we got to, you know, they're still growing, they need good nutrition, and we're very, very focused on that. And then when we get older, we kind of think, yeah, well, I'm already 70, who cares? But it is really important, because if you are wanting longevity and healthy longevity, not just you live till 100, but you want to live healthily till 100 plus, let's just say, then nutrition is just as important for us as it is if you are younger. All right. The next one is to look at undernourishment. Is sort of a common thing, I hate to say, with a lot of older adults, that we become undernourished because of all the 4 reasons I've just mentioned. And one of the things that happens is when we are undernourished, we are lacking and deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. And so we have a harder time fighting infections, you know, viruses. We start to have some cognitive issues that could be very related to the food we eat, not necessarily a disease that we have. And if we suffer any kind of weakness in our body, and, you know, maybe you've had a tiny mini stroke or something, when you got weakness in your body, what happens? You have difficulty with mobility. So, you know, this gentleman here, he's sitting in a chair. He needs a lot of help just to get up out of the chair. Now, part of that could be older age. And I'll admit, my father, who's 87 years old, he's got very not great knees. He finds it harder and harder to get up out of the seat. So he probably tends to sit a little bit more than, you know, jumping up to go to the kitchen 5 times. I've noticed that. So he needs, you know, better seating, a little bit higher seating, all that kind of stuff at 87 with the knee issues. But undernourishment is sort of something that is kind of in our control. You know, bad knees, you got bone on bone. Okay, that's the medical condition that's degenerative, like it's degenerative. But undernourishment, we can do something about that. All right. Now, speaking of undernourishment, I wanted to talk about something called tea and toast syndrome. It sounds kind of funny or kind of made up. Has anybody heard of that? I learned this in nursing years and years ago. It is an actual thing. If you look it up look it up in Wikipedia, there is the definition. Tea and toast syndrome. It's a form of malnutrition commonly experienced by older adults who are unable to prepare meals and tend to themselves. So it might be that physically you're not able to stand in the kitchen for too long. Could be that, you know, your hip hurts or your knee hurts, so you don't stand for very long, or you got to sit in between when you're cooking. This is a real thing, and this is the number one people that become malnourished. Now, what happens with this is you end up with low salt in your body. That's one of the very common side effects of this whole tea and toast syndrome. What does it mean exactly? Okay, you look at the picture. What it means is you're living on your own. Let's just say, for example, you're tired, you've got maybe a medical condition here and there, you can't stand very long in the kitchen. So what happens is your meals become simpler and simpler. And often, especially say we went out for lunch, or we feel like our appetite's just not the way it used to be. What do? We're tired. I don't want to say the word lazy, but we're just tired. So what do? We just have a bit of toast, maybe a cup of tea. Maybe we eat a hard-boiled egg with the toast. That helps. It's a bit of protein. But we tend to eat like this more often than maybe we should. This happened with my grandmother. My mom and I would go visit my grandmother and ask her, what did you have for dinner last night? You know, all the questions you sort of tend to ask a loved one. And you find out that she's been doing a lot of tea and toast. So it is real. be conscious of this. If you have an older parent that's still alive, you want to make sure that they're not doing this. And then also take a look at your own eating habits and see if it's the tea and toast, once in a blue moon, hey, it's okay to have that, breakfast for dinner, or you just ate such a big lunch. So now you want to eat a little bit less at dinner time. But just think about the components of making it a nutritious meal, balanced meal. And we're going to get into that a little bit. Does anybody have any questions for me before we continue? Yeah, everyone's good? Okay, so let's look at the actual factors that affect nutrition in older age. So we kind of touched on this one already, the social factors. So with social factors, many adults are finding themselves just kind of not as interested in food as they once were, and in eating. Maybe they like food, but they're just not interested in eating. And again, this is especially difficult if you are on your own and you're recently on your own. So if you've lost a loved one, or say a family member that was living with you has now gone off to school, or is moved on, or is doing something different, is out of the country, and you're on your own, that in itself can affect your interest in eating. So also under social factors, so still number one here, this is something that is real. And I bring this one up because I feel like it seems to be getting more and more difficult every year we go through. Depends sometimes on crops and weather. Sometimes, a food that was a certain price is now escalated and is, a much higher price because of the crop situation. Remember, there was a little bit of issue earlier last year with getting enough workers to work the farms, maybe because of the what's the word? The ban on, people moving around and flying to different countries and stuff. And so we might not have had enough workers to work the plantations and work the farms to get the food to us. So the prices went up because there was less of volume. But here's a real reality for a lot of us, including myself. Now, I work here at Get Set Up part-time, but I am on my pension now. So I've gone from, a pretty nice salary to a fixed income. That's what we call it, a fixed income. Now, you don't have to put up your hand, but I'm going to guess that for the most part, most of us are on fixed incomes now. That's different than when we were working and, they brought overtime into work so you could make a few extra bucks, or, you're getting that increased salary or a promotion to a different job when we were in our sort of working years. When you're on a fixed income, you're on a fixed income. Maybe you get a little bit of what we call a cost of living allowance, where it might bump up a few dollars, and really it's about a few dollars. So if you are living on your own, this social factor is so important, because a lot of times we're embarrassed. We're maybe a little bit ashamed that we can't afford the nutritious food we would like. Maybe we would like to buy the organic apples, but we look at the cost and go, whoa, it's kind of expensive. So just being able to afford the variety of food to keep us healthy might be a little bit of a challenge. I'll call it that, a little bit of a challenge. And for some, it might be a big challenge. So that all falls under social factors. Let's go to the next one. And I would like to hear, I'd like to just ask, we'll talk about the slide, and I want to put it out there to all of you, and just, I'm curious if any of you have noticed this. I myself haven't noticed this yet, maybe to a certain little extent. So here it is. Number 2, lack of appetite. Or I should change the slide to reduced appetite. I might change it. I have to remind myself, reduced appetite. So aging tends to cause some muscle mass loss. That just happens, I think, even after age 30. So like for a while now, there is that muscle loss that naturally happens to our bodies. When you have less muscle mass on your body, that means your body requires fewer calories. Okay. So naturally, this causes an older adult to be less hungry. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? why do they say, especially for women, you know, keep up that strength training, keep doing some exercises. Like we have lots of exercises here at Get Set Up, which is great, but keep doing some exercises. Why is that? Because we want to keep our muscle mass. We want to make sure we don't lose too much muscle mass. So if normally our muscle mass slowly goes down, we can counterbalance that with doing some strength exercises and keeping our muscles, you know, stronger muscles. And therefore it will keep our calorie amount that we need a little higher. Therefore, we might keep that appetite strong, you know, that strong appetite. One of the other reasons, okay, so loss of muscle, like muscle, let's just say reduced muscle mass. The second part of number 2 with the lack of appetite could be like maybe 2 things. The picture sort of says it as well. We could be taking medications that kind of curb our appetite. I don't know, maybe we've taken up smoking. I just thought of that one because I think of people that start smoking and then lose their appetite. They don't have as much appetite. I just thrown that one in there. But also as we age, we have produced less hormones, certain hormones in our body that trigger hunger in our bodies. So we are producing less of that hormone that triggers our hunger. Okay, so let's just, I'm just going to stop here for 1 second. I just want to ask everybody. I mean, if you feel comfortable to answer, I mean, it's not a big deal because it's something that naturally happens. Is there anybody here who has noticed as they've been aging? You know, we're all aging, first of all, so there's nothing on how old somebody is, but we're all aging. But have you noticed that your appetite has changed? Anybody? Yeah, Martha, you've noticed a little bit? Yeah. Anybody else?
I've noticed it also.
Yeah. Yeah, and Thelma as well. It's interesting. My dad never mentioned anything to me until, and same with iPad Air, number 2. Yes, or you have a question, I'm not sure. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself. My father only in his early 80s said to me that he's like, noticed, I'm just not hungry anymore. He kind of said it like that. Now we lost mom around that time as well. So that was a factor, that sort of isolation or feeling sort of sad. But he noticed his appetite reduced. Yeah. So it's sort of a natural thing that happens, but now we know why, right? Now we know why. As we age, our muscle mass tends to reduce. So we can counteract that by continuing to do some form of strength training. That's why like Pilates and yoga, just getting out for a good walk, but specifically doing strength training. Even if you hold your cans of soup and just do a few little, anything at home you can do for strength. We can use our body. We can do push-ups against the wall. So we don't even have to get down on the ground. Doing a few push-ups and working, these muscles kind of keep us with a little bit more muscle strength. And that will help to keep your hunger alive, I guess I'll say. Mm-hmm. And you might be, could be a certain medication that's causing some issues. So, you might want to talk to your doctor about that and maybe look at the side effects. And is one of them like loss of appetite? Now, why I bring this one up and why I'm talking a lot about this specific one, lack of appetite, is because I don't want any of you to think you're sick. Like all of a sudden something changes and you think, whoa, what's going on? Am I getting sick? Do I have some disease or something why I don't have as big of appetite? So now we know it's kind of natural, and now we know the root reasons, so we can do something about it. Now, the other very, very interesting thing I found when I was doing all my research for older adults is this next one. This one's kind of weird, and I thought, whoa, I did not know this. So this sort of adds to the sort of lack of interest with eating. We do tend to lose a sense of smell and taste. Now, I keep on saying to myself, I'm going to change this slide. So I'm going to make a note to myself to change these slides. So it's not like you lose all sense of smell or taste. It just means it diminishes, it reduces, it can reduce. Again, this is related to aging, and think of it this way: we lose our sensitivity, our acute sensitivity to smell and taste. Now we know when we eat our foods, especially like, for example, a cup of coffee, it's more the smell than the taste that we are enjoying, is the smell of the coffee versus the taste. Because when you're drinking a hot cup of coffee, we've kind of numbed our taste buds. And so it's the smell that we're getting as we're drinking our coffee. For all you coffee lovers out there, it isn't actually the taste of the coffee. And a little tiny experiment you can do, Elsa's smiling, because it's true. It's the smell of the coffee that gets us excited, and we drink that hot cup of coffee. But when it's hot, we're numbing our taste buds. So do a little experiment. Let your coffee get down to kind of lukewarm, and then take a sip of your coffee and tell me if you still like it. Because when it's lukewarm, Martha, you have a question.
I have a favorite tea that I drank, and it tastes like dirt now. Go figure.
Well, okay. So here, yeah.
I'm drinking hot water instead.
Okay, so we do, our sense of taste and smell kind of can change our sensitivity. So again, with the coffee, if you guys are, if anybody's a coffee person, try that. It's that beautiful aroma of smell. I mean, I love the smell of coffee. I don't really drink it very often, but I love the aroma. So it's the aroma you're getting, even when you're sipping it, slurping it down, because it's hot, it's numbing the taste buds. You make your coffee, let it sit for a while, and it's lukewarm, and you taste it. Coffee is actually quite bitter and doesn't really taste that great. You actually then kind of can taste the coffee. I can guarantee you're going to go to the microwave and heat that coffee up, because it's not going to taste like you thought it was going to taste. So with Martha's share with us, so a tea she used to enjoy now kind of tastes like dirt. So I would say that if you're wanting to get the goodness of whatever herbs or whatever type of tea it is, heating it up and having it hotter might be, because you get the smell of it. But just keep this in mind. So if we put the sort of lower appetite, the less sensitivity to smell and taste, what do you think that does to our eating habits, especially if we live on our own, right? You might think, yeah, you might think you're sick. And this is why I want you to really know you are not sick, unless you have like that, the symptom that they say with this pandemic, where all of a sudden you just lose your sense of smell completely. You can't smell anything. A peanut butter jar is right in front of you and you can't smell it. That's a whole nother level. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about losing a little bit of sensitivity to your sense of smell and taste. Maybe when you walk into the home, you just don't smell the soup on the stove as much as you did 20 years ago, when you'd walk into the house and you could smell your partner is making something delicious in the kitchen. You actually have to come into the kitchen and really take some time to get the smell. So again, my point to bring these things up is so that you don't think that you're getting sick and I'm just not interested in food anymore and I've lost my lackluster, it's just everything's lackluster now to do with food. Now, at least if you kind of have an idea. And also with this loss of sense of smell, unfortunately, there are medications. So this is just a picture. It's not necessarily meaning if you take cholesterol pill or heart pill or blood pressure or pain pill, that those are the culprits. It's just a picture to say that there are some medications that can dull our sense of taste. So again, isn't it great to know these things? Because the more we know, the more we are aware of this for ourselves. All right, let's move on. Now, this one's an interesting one. This one, number 4, gastrointestinal issues. Now, this one's interesting because I feel it for anybody who has some real reflux issues or just they don't digest their food very well, not like they used to. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. Well, putting on weight can definitely help, can definitely add to gastrointestinal issues, is like weight gain, especially around the middle. Maybe when we're sleeping, we're not as comfortable. So, but here's the thing about as we age, not everything has to be terrible as we age. These are just things to just keep check on. Our intestines can tend to lose or are just not as efficient at absorbing our nutrients. So that's interesting to note, right? So we want to be careful when we're eating that we give our digestion as much help as possible. our digestions can slow down and our stomachs might take longer to empty. So there's another reason why maybe your appetite's smaller, because everything's slowed down. Yeah, we might just feel like, oh, I can't eat anymore. Like my body is digesting. So you're eating less. But the fact that the absorption of nutrients can change as well. So we want to keep this in mind with the gastrointestinal issues. The other part of number 4 is, again, now you learned this already. As we get older, we might have lower muscle mass. And guess what? That can also mean in our jaw area. So chewing and swallowing might get more difficult. I have proof of this. My grandmother, as she was aging, now she lived till she was 96, 97. She started to have trouble swallowing. She could chew her food, no problem. Her teeth were fine, but it was almost painful to watch her swallow her food because it looked painful to me. The other number one reason here with the gastrointestinal issues is dental issues. Has anybody had dental issues as they've aged? Yeah, that's not fun. Chewing your food, maybe you start avoiding certain foods. Has anybody here started avoiding certain foods?
Yeah.
Meat.
Yeah, like meat can be hard to chew. Beautiful, healthy nuts and seeds, they get stuck in your teeth, and your teeth aren't great. So dental issues, this is a huge one. This was a huge one for my father. He's actually had a plate and some teeth replaced now because it had gotten so bad. And he loved peanuts. That was his favorite thing to eat. He stopped eating peanuts. He wasn't eating meat. Like his whole nutrition, everything's changed because of the teeth problem. So that kind of falls in this whole gastrointestinal, like this poor lady, she's got a toothache. We start eating only on one side. Has that happened to some people? We start chewing just on one side, then we're not giving our mouth this side a break. So all of these things can add to the gastrointestinal issues. What I can say about this is, remember, digestion starts in the mouth. So when you put food into your mouth, make sure that you are chewing it and giving it a good chew before you swallow it. If you take a little test after this class and you go make yourself a sandwich, it might take you a while to make the sandwich, but we tend to bite, chew 1, 2, and swallow instead of chewing maybe 3 or 4 times. So test that out for yourself and see if you're chewing your food properly. That will help with the gastrointestinal issues, because if the digestion starts in the mouth and the enzymes start working, by the time it gets down into there, it's more digested and you'll get more nutrients out of the food you're eating. Okay, so we're going to move on now to just the basics of nutrition, because we don't want to run out of time. And if anybody has questions, I want to be able to answer those questions. So we're going to look at nutrition basics. All right. Well, there actually are 6 things, but in this case, let's talk about what does it break down to? Macronutrients and micronutrients. Now, we're all probably familiar with the macronutrients. It's up on the board here. Carbohydrates, proteins, and the fats. So what do we want in our diet? And our body needs all 3 of these things. So don't be just because a diet says to eat low something or no something doesn't mean our body doesn't need it, okay? We need carbohydrate-rich foods, we need protein-rich foods, and we need healthy fats. So just for example, our carbohydrate foods, we have the simple carbohydrates like the breads and grains and things like that. And then what are the complex carbohydrates? Does anybody know what those would be? I know that silly mute button is a pain. So our complex.
Sweet.
I think it would be like rice and beans.
Our complex would be like the vegetables, anything that's got the fiber with it. So vegetables is an example of carbohydrate rich. Complex versus the simple. The simple is like eating a muffin, or the breads and things like that. Yeah, and then protein-rich foods. What would we think of for protein-rich foods?
Beans.
Yes, yeah, that's a great example, Denise. Yeah, so beans. So when we think of if anybody is eats animal protein, obviously those things like eating animal products, eating fish and chicken and beef and things like that, that would be considered protein rich foods. But also, as mentioned, beans, lentils, there are vegetarian, vegan things that are also protein rich. And then fats. I mean, there's obviously the unhealthy fats, like the trans fats, a lot of the saturated fats. Those are the kind of not so good fats. But then what are the good fats? I always like to go through this in all my classes when I talk about healthy fats. Let's name out some healthy fats.
Avocados.
Yes, avocados have it's monounsaturated fats in avocados. So that is a good healthy fat. Anybody else?
Olive oil.
Nuts.
Olive oil, I heard, and Martha said nuts. Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Anything? What? Sorry, I missed that last one. What about seeds? There are some beautiful seeds like hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds. They all have the healthy fats in them. Coconut oil, yes, it's a saturated, but coconut oil is considered a healthy fat. Our brain loves coconut oil. So for brain health, if you've taken my brain health class, coconut oil is on that top 10 list. Our brains like the coconut oil. All right, so olives, just straight olives, that's another healthy fat. And yeah, I think we've covered quite a few, all the nuts and the seeds, the beautiful walnuts, like any kind of beautiful nut that's a true nut, you've got the beautiful healthy fats in it. Okay, so that is our macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and healthy and fats. That's the large scale. We need it on a more large scale. Now we look at the micronutrients, and micro meaning small, right? So our micronutrients are divided into just two groups. Pretty simple. What are they? Vitamins and minerals. So that's what our body is trying to break down from the macros that we take into our body. It's trying to take out the vitamins and minerals that we need, that are necessary for life. The macronutrients with the healthy fats is getting those fatty acids. Now, what's the other name for that? Like we've talked about it in other classes too, the omega-3s. That is our main essential fatty acids that we really, really want, because the omega-3s are really important. Yes, we got omega-6s and we've got omega-9s, but I think I've mentioned this even yesterday in one of my classes. Omega-6s, we need those too, but they tend to be overdone in our diets because they come from the plant oils. Safflower oil, canola oil, things like that, you get your omega-6s from. But the omega-3s, we just talked about the healthy fats we get from flax seeds and olive oil, for example. The omega-3s tend to be anti-inflammatory, brings down the inflammation in our bodies. Those omega-6s, we do need them, but they tend to be pro-inflammatory. They tend to add inflammation to our bodies. This is a little extra you're learning today. Now, for nutrition basics, I just want to add in here, because I don't have it, and I maybe should add a slide. We got the macros, right? We just talked about the 3 macros. We talked about the 2 micros, vitamins and minerals. There's one more thing that we need to survive. Can anybody say what it is? There's 6 things we need. We just named the 3 macros, the vitamins and minerals. What's the 6th one?
Water.
Who said that? Was that Denise?
Yes.
Water. Yeah, we need water. I better add a slide. I think I should add a slide because water. And do you know that we can survive without food for quite a long time, actually, but we cannot survive without water. If we didn't have water, if we had water, we could survive quite a lot longer than if we just didn't have water, but we had some food. So there you go. Water is actually more essential. All right. So
is it true that our body is made up of 75% of water?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like it, right? We feel like, sometimes, our stomach kind of gurgles if we've had like quite a bit of liquid. We can hear it gurgle with the water inside, but we are around 75%. Our brain and our bodies are 75% water. So if you don't hydrate your body, you can have all sorts of symptoms come up. You think you're sick. Elsa.
I just want to ask if there is a Besides the vitamin D, I have a deficiency for vitamin D,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that it's very important because I need to take advantage of the calcium that I drink and that I try to eat also.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be a natural source of vitamin D besides the sun?
Well, vitamin D is a tough one because, well, it's good because other like as like the omega-3s, we can't manufacture it, but vitamin D we can manufacture in our bodies. But if you're like me, I'm in North America. In the winter, for instance, we don't get a lot of lights. We don't get a lot of sunshine in the winter. So vitamin D, there are foods now. I'm just trying to think in my head if I can remember, but anything like the dark green leafy vegetables is a huge good one. And you get a lot of vitamin D in our healthy fishes, so we get the healthy fat with the vitamin D. I would have to do, you know what I'll do for us, since we've had a question on this, I will just do a little research before I send out the post email to you all, and I'll just throw in a little specific thing on where we can get some high vitamin D foods, because I don't have it right on hand in my brain right this second. But we are going to talk about 3 essential nutrients as the last part of this session. And I want you to know, obviously talk to your doctor if you're going to supplement with anything, but vitamin D, a lot of us are low in vitamin D. You know, even if you live in a sunshine area, are you actually out in the sun, like sun, you know, getting the sun on you, or are you putting all your sunscreen on and wearing a hat when you're outside? So especially if you have sort of darker skin, like I have a little bit darker skin than say my husband. So I have to be careful of not having low vitamin D. Now, here's a little trick, or not a trick, but this is something to note. When you go to the doctor for blood work, our general blood work, you know, they might test your cholesterol because it runs in your family, or there's heart disease in the family, so they're going to test your cholesterol. They might test, what's the other thing, the main profile, your white blood cells, your red blood cells. What else do we have usually on the blood work? I haven't had mine done in a while. So, but my point is, they don't necessarily test your vitamin D. Just, it's not part of the panel. You have to ask to have your vitamin D tested. And the way you test your vitamin D is through blood work. So in Canada, where I live, it's $65 extra to get this test done. But you know what? If you're only getting blood work done once a year, maybe if you're lucky, twice in a year, like here, they're very particular about you getting blood work. But maybe you want to test how you've improved your nutrition, you've improved your health, and you want to see if it makes a difference in your blood work. Is your blood glucose level down? Like, is your cholesterol down? How are you feeling? You're feeling better. You want to see what your blood work is. Not a bad idea to add the vitamin D and just say, hey, I just want to make sure. I've been reading that a lot of us are deficient. Now, guess what? When I had my vitamin D tested a couple of years ago, I was like appalled because I was in the second lowest like category. I was way below vitamin D I should have. Like, thank God I didn't end up with some medical condition, because low vitamin D can be a risk factor for cancer. Low vitamin D can be a risk factor for many diseases. So it can cause depression. So make sure, since Elsa's brought it up, check your vitamin D. Now, these are the 3 oh, sorry, Martha, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute. That silly mute button. There you go.
Drink 6 to 8 glasses of water. How many ounces?
Well, okay. I want to make it easy for all of you. This is something I've learned in a course that I'm taking right now, which is all about I'm a nutritionist, so I take all sorts of nutrition courses. This is how I want you guys to think about it. If you can drink aim for your 6 to 8 glasses every day, not like, don't take a day off because it's Saturday and you're going to take a day off. Every day. If you're going to fly on an airplane, I want you to like increase it for the 3 days before you fly, because we all know we don't drink on the day we're flying. We just don't. We don't want to be going to the bathroom. We don't want to have to be on the plane and not be able to go. We all know that happens to most of us. So you'd want to drink extra 3 days before you're flying. So one day we're going to be flying again. So you want to increase your water. This is how it was explained to me, and I love this explanation. If you are an average size person, and you can decide whether you're average size. Drink average size 6 to 8 glasses of water. If you're a small person, drink smaller glasses. If you're a bigger person, drink larger 6 to 8 glasses. I'm not going to specify ounces to you, Martha, because I think really we have the intuition in our bodies to know what we need, like what we need. So if you are a bigger person, like I guess like I'm 5'9", I feel like I'm a bigger person. You know, I've got a few pounds to lose. So I'm going to make sure I have 6 to 8 plus size glasses. So maybe I go for the taller glass. So that's an easier way to think about your water. Let's face it, we've seen posters that say you must drink 8 glasses of water. Well, really? Like what if I'm 20, 30 pounds heavier than I was 2 years ago? Which in 4 years, I gained 30 pounds. Like after I got married, I gained 30 pounds. Who knew? Do you not think that those 30 pounds extra weight needs more water to flush out the toxins and do all that stuff? Absolutely, it does. So think of it that way. If you're a bigger person, maybe you're a man, you just got more muscle mass, you're a bigger guy, just drink larger glasses. Don't drink the little petite ones. All right, that answers that, I hope. Okay. So the 3 foods that I want you to take away from today, that I want you to remember and think of as solid foods that you need to be eating. Number 1 is the omega-3 fatty acids. That is the nutrient I want you to remember as you're aging. It helps to bring that inflammation down. So if you're having swelling or inflammation in your knees or your hip or your back, the omega-3s are going to help. We've talked about where the foods it comes from, mainly in fishes, like the oily fishes, the sardines, the tunas, the mackerels, the salmons. They're also found for vegetarians here in flax seeds, soybeans, canola oil, and walnuts. Those are all high in omega-3s. I mean, I can name more like the chia seeds. Chia seeds are kind of fun, right? You can put those in water and they swell up. So you can add that to your smoothie. You can make chia seed puddings. I wonder if anybody's done that. So omega-3. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Ravine. What about fish oil?
Okay, so yes, a lot of people realize, because we can't, right? We've talked about this, right, Edmund? We do not manufacture omega-3s in our body, so we have to bring it in externally through our food. And if, say, we're not fish people, like let's face it, some people don't like fish. So if you're not having fish and you don't particularly like seeds, you got to get your omega-3s somewhere. Talk to your doctor. There are some amazing, like Nordic Naturals is one brand I used to take. Check the labels, see where it's coming from. Like they usually they flavor it like an orange flavor or something, but capsules you can take to make sure you're getting your omega-3s. So absolutely, supplementation is a choice, but just make sure your doctor knows you're taking it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now I have convinced my husband that salmon's actually a really good thing for us. So we actually eat salmon almost every week now, once a week, even if it's like we use the wild canned salmon. I make a curry with canned salmon and a little bit of potato. It makes like the best curry. Oh my gosh. I should do a cooking class on curries maybe, but not that like I'm an expert, but my parents came from Fiji and I'm Indian background. So, we know how to make curries. Salmon curry is lovely. And my husband is now even eating like fillets of salmon because we have amazing recipes for salmon. If you take my 7 healing foods, you'll get a really good salmon recipe. So, but if you're not a fish person, like you got to get your omega-3s somewhere. So this is my number 1, omega-3s. The second food is calcium. Now, I want you to notice, now this isn't against the dairy industry, and I'm just going to say that out there to anybody who's watching this class. I'm not against the dairy industry, but I will say, if you look at the picture, what are you seeing in the picture for calcium? Dark leafy greens.
Kale.
Yeah, there's kale there, there's spinach, there's like some of the bitter greens, anything that the bitter greens.
Tenderloins.
Yeah, all of those things, you will get more than the calcium you would get in other places, i.e. milk or dairy products. Okay. Now, there's more to the story, and this class is not the place for me to go into that, but I'll just say this from a nutritional point of view. Even if you remember taking classes with me in January versus now, I probably look slimmer. And it's not like because I've lost tons of weight, but I've lost inflammation in my body. Do you know why? I'll tell you the secret. Does anybody want to know the secret? Maybe you've noticed, like, I look a little slimmer in the face, right? I look a little slimmer. I'm not holding as much fluid in my body. I look a little bit more like I did when I was 30. Like I'm 56. I'm 56 this year. Okay, so this is here's the thing. Because I'm learning this in a nutrition thing I'm doing right now. Me and my husband cut out dairy only for the last 4 weeks. Only 4 weeks. We cut out all dairy. Okay, so yogurt, like anything that's dairy, even butter. And in 4 weeks, the inflammation in my body has come down that I look like this, like versus if you look at a recording of me in January. Like it's vastly different. I mean, I don't have a picture up to show you. Okay, so where I'm getting at this with the calcium, which why I'm really telling you this point is calcium, the available calcium is so much greater and so much more without limitations from your dark green leafy vegetables. So if you stop drinking milk or your stomach doesn't enjoy it, that's okay, because that's not your number one place for calcium. Marketing told us that years ago and continues to say, you know, milk does the body good. But dairy products for many people are inflammatory foods. Period. So that's why a lot of people are doing nut milks. That's why, you know, there's some really strong believers of like, why are we drinking some other animal's milk? Like, you know, that's again another whole story. If you enjoy milk, continue to drink your milk, continue to have your dairy products. I myself, after I do this little experiment, will probably introduce butter again, and maybe my goat cheese, soft goat cheese that I really enjoy. So, but for the purposes of calcium, this is your number one source. This is your number one source. Do you know what happens when your body doesn't have enough calcium and it needs it to do whatever processes it's doing in the body? Do you know what it does?
It takes from other places.
Yeah. Thelma, you're absolutely right. And you know where that other place is?
What about almond milk?
Yeah, almond milk is great. Almond milk is a nut milk. Janet, you're absolutely right. When your body needs calcium, because your body does need calcium to do certain processes in the body, if it doesn't have the calcium because you didn't eat some green leafy greens, it takes it from your stores. And where does it store it? In the bones. So, you know, if you're worried about osteoporosis, eat your dark green leafy vegetables and get your calcium, because it will take it from the bones saying, I'm just going to borrow for now. And when your stores increase, I'll put it back. But guess what? Say you don't eat dark leafy greens for ages. Now your body, your bones are in deficit, and it will stay like that. So keep that in mind. All right, the very last one is fiber. And I think I might just change my picture on fiber, because again, grains sometimes can be irritating to people's stomachs and stuff. So where else can we get good fiber? In broccoli. Like there's some really great vegetables that have some really high in fiber. Now we talked about avocados, great healthy fat, but it's got lots of great fiber in it as well. But we can get it from our nuts and our whole grain cereals, our whole grain breads, brown pastas, brown bread, like chia seeds, fruits, and vegetables. So I do add it into the slide, but I think I'm going to make that number one. What I'm learning is sort of cutting edge nutrition stuff that I keep up to date. So that's why you here at Get Set Up are getting curated, valuable cutting edge information from me, because that's what I love and I study. So I'm going to probably change the slide and show it more as, you know, with the fibrous vegetables. Do you know that we need around, I think it's around 30 grams of fiber a day? Guess how much most of us are getting? Not that much. Sometimes only 5 grams of fiber. If you're not pooping really great, you're probably low in fiber. And why do we need the fiber again? You know, the fiber comes in that beautiful soluble fiber. It helps to clean the pipes. Think of that as cleaning down the pipes. We're keeping ourselves clean. We're getting rid of, like, if you've got good fiber that's going through your system, it's taken all those little bits of particles and a little bit of cholesterol, things that are clinging to the sides of our vessels. It's cleaning all that out. When you have the fiber, it cleans out the whole system right down to, you know, your bathroom experience, right? It helps you. Don't you feel great when you've had like a good bathroom experience? You feel great, right? What if you have like a not so great one and you kind of feel like you got to go, but you can't go? That whole feeling, that's not a great feeling, right? Fiber helps us to feel better. It helps our systems to like be charged up and be moving. So what were the three again? Our omega-3s. Edmund mentioned supplements if you're really having a hard time getting it from your food. I think that's okay as long as your doctor knows you're taking it. The second one, what was it? Calcium. For us as we age, we got to have strong bones as we age. We don't want to fall and break our hip, which is a common thing that happens to many older people. And this third one, fiber. All right, we're at the summary section. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen in just 1 second, but I want to make sure I show you. So these are the things we've learned. I'm going to add vitamin D, foods for vitamin D in your post email, compliments of Elsa. And let's just see the last few slides. I just want to make sure I show them because it's part of our doing our sessions. I've shown there's a few related classes of mine that I have coming up. 7 Healing Foods. I think 7 Healing Foods actually is at today at 10 o'clock my time. So in another hour, I'm doing 7 Healing Foods. You're going to get recipes in that class. There's lots of great classes that get set up. I mean, I'm astounded by the amount of classes coming out. So keep checking the schedule because we keep adding new stuff. If you have any feedback or stuff that you particularly about Get Set Up or the website, you can send it to Liz at Get Set Up. And this is kind of what I'm going to be sending an email out to you all, the post email. It gives you a chance to give us feedback. And we really, really love feedback. I love getting feedback because it helps me to see where I can improve something. I'm definitely going to improve some of the slides so it doesn't say, total loss of smell, because that's not true. And if you notice anything or something that you want to add that you think would help the class, please give it to us in the feedback. If you love the class, go ahead and give it a 5-star. I think it always starts at 4 stars, so you have to click on a 5th star. If you want to do lower, sure, give lower, but give your reasons so we can improve. We always want to improve. I always want to improve. And this is a new slide that they've added into our slide deck. So inviting a friend. This is important. Invite your friends and family to come to Get Set Up. Why not? There's lots of learning and lots of classes to share. And also, if you would like to host an interest group or suggest a new class, again, send it to the help at Get Set Up. All right, so that is it. I'm going to stop sharing. And what do we have? We have a minute left. Does anybody have any big question that they want to ask or a comment that they want to make?
Yes. What time is your healing class?
In 1 hour from now, I'm doing the Healing Foods class, and it's quite a special class because you at the end get this beautiful booklet with all 7 recipes from the 7 Healing Foods. Yeah, it's a really fun class, and I've had people in this class that might be here that have taken it and have tried some of the recipes and really enjoyed some of the recipes. So I'm happy to share my very personal recipes with all of you. So
when is this class going to be repeated?
This particular class usually happens once a week. Here's the tip when it comes to me, if you're looking for my classes. Specifically, I only teach on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So if you're looking for this nutrition class again, because you want to hear it again and you want to, hear other people's comments, it'll probably be on a Thursday or a Friday next week. I think it's already scheduled. Next week's schedule is already up. Actually, I'll tell you exactly. I've got my schedule here. Next week, it's at 9 o'clock on Friday. So it's an hour later than today. So if you're in Eastern, it's noon on the 23rd. You'll see it on the 23rd.
Ravina, this is Janet. Why is it so important to let your doctor know about the omega-3s that you're taking?
Okay, so any person who, even as a nurse, like I have my nursing degree and I have my functional nutrition diploma, whenever a healthcare professional, especially not a doctor, recommends anything or suggests anything, it's sort of like our legal thing for us to say that, because I don't want something I say, you go ahead and do it, and you fail to tell your doctor, and maybe whatever supplement I might have mentioned to you it interferes with your medication. So
Okay.
it's more of a legal thing. We have to say it. So you probably heard me say that a couple times in the session. Whenever you're talking about nutrition, I don't want anybody to be coming back to me saying, you told me that I should be eating more, of this, and now I'm having these other problems. So it's true too. Like if you have a doctor who you're seeing maybe fairly regularly, or maybe not even regularly, once a year, but they do have your medical profile, it's good to keep your professionals up to date and knowing what you're doing. Even if you go see a naturopath, they'll ask you, well, what are you taking? Or you go see, I don't know, even your massage therapist, they might say, well, what supplements are you taking? They want to know so they get the full profile of you. And we're all different, right? So, I mean, omega-3s, I can't imagine a doctor saying, oh no, don't take those, because they're healthy fats and we all need them. Okay, that's the reason. That's the real, it's a legal reason why we have to say it. So you hear me say it often. Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment and say I enjoyed this class as well.
Good.
And I look forward to more recipes from you, because her recipes are great. I don't like to cook, but they're very user-friendly, and I've tried several of them, and I've enjoyed every last one of them. Oh, good. Well, you know what? We are creating more and more classes. Now, I will tell you a little secret. I'm working on a class right now. And then we're also almost off, we're over time now. So let me just tell you, so you can look out for it. This is the class I'm teaching. I'm so excited to create this class. I'm still creating it. Today's top food and lifestyle trends. That's the name I want to call it, but sometimes Get Set Up might change it. But for right now, the class that could be coming to you soon. Today's top food and lifestyle trends. What am I going to be talking about? I'm going to be talking about all the trends. Like, what does keto diet mean? What's the latest trend from the keto diet? That's interesting. What about vegan? Where did vegetarianism come? Like, what does pescatarian mean? I'm a pescatarian. What does that mean? It's kind of like vegetarian, but you eat fish. What's the latest trend that's less severe as vegan? There is something coming that's sort of a trend for 2021. So I'm going to talk about that. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to put recipes specifically in this class, but it's going to be fun. And I explain the basics. Like, it reminded me about water being one of the 6 things that we need. So that's why I'm going to add it into this class too. But anyways, I want to say thank you for being here. Please do the feedback if you can. And it's great to see familiar faces. I feel like Henrietta and like Janet and Martha and Elsa, I've seen you before, and Denise, I've seen you before, and some of the other names I recognize. We're learning together. It's great, right? We're all going to improve our health and wellness and get that inflammation. Yeah, and get that inflammation out of our bodies. Like, I'm like living proof that it can happen. I knew that it was something that was bugging my system, because I was having sort of not great bathroom experiences as well. But guess what? In 4 weeks, everything's great. Everything's great. So something was irritating me. So take care, everybody. We'll see you maybe in under an hour. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody. Bye, Edmund.
Bye.
Bye.
That's great. I love having all these extra people in class. And I love having men in class too. It's good to see the men. Good to see the men. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye to all of you live streaming. Oh, bye, Salwa. Nice to see your face. Yay, I get to see your face. Yay. Love it.